video today, I'm going to showcase how the data is flowing from a Google Cloud instance to Azure Cosmos DB. We are using Azure Service Bus as the main data handler and a couple of logical apps in between to facilitate the transfer of data. Here are a couple of diagrams, sequence diagram, data flow and application architecture diagram to showcase how the data is flowing. So this is the Google AppSheet that we are using as a data source. As you can see, the layout is pretty simple. And then we are using Google Apps to create the application. The application creation process is very simple. You just select your data source and then Google will automatically create an application. So it's pretty amazing that way. Here I am just showcasing the how the layout of the application looks like. Obviously, this is just the delivered one. And this is the bot that we created that is creating events and evoking HTTP function based on the event of creating a new record. So we are using JSON to transfer the data record, and these are some of the parameters that are required to make the HTTP call. So this is how the application looks like in the browser. As you can see, it has the same fields as I was showing back in the app sheet. Now what I'll do is I'll add two records here. One is customer and the other one is product. So let's do that. And then what is happening behind the scene is that application is getting synced with both the app sheet as well as our bot is sensing the event of data record add and sending the data to our HTTP webhook. So let's go and have a look at that. As we can see, the application got synced with the Google AppSheet. This is the application architecture. So let's take a deep dive into this one. So as you can see, we are entering the data in the Google app, which is invoking the HTTP trigger. Now the HTTP trigger is actually a logical app that is getting invoked on the Azure side, and we can take a look at that a little bit later. The Azure logical app is then passing the JSON data over to Azure Service Bus, where we have created three different subscriptions. And these subscriptions, what they are doing is we can filter them so that each one can process a different type of data. So depending on what we are entering, then we can choose what kind of action needs to be taken on that particular data. For example, here we are not doing anything with product and others. We are just storing the customer data in our Cosmos DB. So similarly, you can choose other actions for products and default ones. So here we are in our Azure account. And let's look at the logical app. So when a HTTP request is received, this is the webhook URL that we are calling, and this is the method post, and this is the schema that in which we accept the data. And then we can choose how we want to transfer the data over to Azure Service Bus. Here I have chosen the JSON layout, and I have added an additional property based on which I am filtering the events in Azure Service Bus. And let's look at the Azure Service Bus. So as I mentioned earlier, there are three different types of subscriptions we have created here. One is to handle the customer data, second is to handle the product data, and the last one is the default one. So if you look at the customer data here, you can see I have added a filter here where type of is customer. So that's how Azure is determining on which subscriptions to pass on the incoming message to. So this queue will only, I'm saying queue, but this message subscription will only handle the customer type of data. Similarly, the product one, I applied a filter as well to handle only the product data. And the last one is the default one. So anything else will come to that queue by default, right? So these are the three main subscriptions created here. Obviously, you can create as many as you like to handle different scenarios. If the data needs to be passed on to different streams or different applications, you can make the determination here at this stage. Now, looking at our architecture, we can see that the customer is further going to logical app. So let's look at that app. So what that app is doing is it's sensing the event of a message being added to the Azure Service Bus subscription, and based on that we can define what needs to happen. So here we are just storing that information in our Cosmos DB, that is the database. right? And this is the Cosmos DB, and we can see that our record got added here with those details. And again, we have not written any data. It's the logical apps that are driving the event in the queue. Here we can see only the customer subscription is empty because our logical app is taking action on it. But our product and default app, since I have not defined any other action here, they are still lying in the subscription queue, you can say. So Azure Service Bus is very powerful in that sense, where you can have only one incoming stream and then you can divide it into multiple streams based on different filter criteria. Accordingly, you can take actions on each of those messages. Maybe some needs to go to a different application, maybe some needs to go to an ERP application, maybe some needs to go to a different webhook. So that can be determined easily on the service bus side of things. So rather than making 3 different APIs at the source level, we can make, service bus handle those. So anyways, this was just a short video showcasing the power and capabilities of different applications, how they can be spinned together into different microservices and tied up together using those integrations tool, API management, Azure Service Bus, logical apps. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this was informative. Thanks.